Namaste World Racer, Sabine and Roger here. Let's watch the Definitive Documentary of Babaji, an Immortal Master.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this because, as you know, we are diving into Ramanansagar's Ramayana. So what does this video have to do with that? I got a comment, and I'm going to read it right now. And Sabine, this is going to be shocking for Sabina because she doesn't know what is about to be revealed. You know, guys, Mahavatar Babaji guided Ramanand Sagar to make Ramayana. And then it was confirmed by B. Yes, it's a less known fact. So what I did is I just did a little bit of research to find out if this is true. And it says, yeah, there is no definitive answer to whether Babaji inspired Ramanand Sagar to make the Ramayana. However, it is believed that Ramanand Sagar had a spiritual connection with Babaji, who was a renowned yogi and spiritual master. It is said that Ramanand Sagar received divine inspiration during his time with Babaji, which led him to create the iconic television series Ramayana.
What?
Some people believe that Babaji appeared to Ramanand Sagar in a dream, while others suggest that his spiritual guidance helped Ramanand Sagar to channel his creativity and bring the story of Ramayana to life on the screen. Regardless of the exact nature of their relationship, Ramanand Sagar's work is widely celebrated as a masterpiece of Indian television and has inspired millions of people around the world to learn more about the ancient epic Ramayana and its message of truth, love, and righteousness.
Wow.
So that is pretty cool because we already watched episode 3 and we could see the level of devotion and purity and truth contained within it. So I believe that, yeah, they had a connection, and I believe that it was divinely inspired because the divinity just pours out through each episode that we've watched so far. It's incredible.
Wow, this is so special. Wow. Okay,
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Let's hit the like button for Babaji, for Ramanand Saga, for the Ramayana, Sri M, and all holy divine beings.
Indeed. Here we go. Choking up already.
So who is Mahavatar Babaji and why is he so important? First, he is one of the ascended masters and arguably the highest level spiritual figure that has ever graced the earth.
Oh, really?
He is the teacher of teachers. His most famous disciple was Jesus, and he constantly works to bring peace and love to the world.
We knew that.
Babaji taught many spiritual adepts through the centuries. The most famous being Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, easily one of the greatest pieces of spiritual literature ever composed, in my humble opinion. Few other spiritual figures compared to Babaji in terms of his power and his impact on the world from behind the scenes. The term Babaji is actually a broad Indian word which means revered father. I first learned of the great master from reading Autobiography of a Yogi over 2 decades ago. The information in this video comes from that book and others written about Babaji. So let's begin. The legend of Mahavatar Babaji dates back to 203 BC.
We've been there.
He was said to have been born on November 30th in a small eastern coastal village in the far south of India. His birth name was Nagarajan, which literally means king of serpents.
Cool.
His father was the priest of a village temple, and Nagarajan adored his mother, whose love for her was unconditional. These details of Babaji's early formative years were revealed to Marshal Govindan, who was initiated into Kriya Yoga in 1970 and dedicated his life to it, becoming president of Babaji's Kriya Yoga operations and initiating over 10,000 people in its teachings.
10,000?
If you didn't know, Kriya Yoga is a powerful branch of yoga that was passed down from Babaji to his disciples, forming a lineage that continues today. Govinda wrote a very informative book on Babaji in 1991, titled Babaji and the 18 Siddha Kriya Yoga Tradition. According to Govinda, Babaji personally told him of the details of his early life in India back in 203 BC. This includes Nagaraj being kidnapped and sold as a slave when he was just 5 years old. Fortunately, his new owner was a kind man and freed Nagaraj shortly after. Nagaraj then joined a small group of wandering ascetics who sought communion with God. During the next few years, Nagaraj wandered from place to place, all the while studying holy scriptures like the Vedas, Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita. This period in his life, still his formative years, became his quest for self-realization. I'm sure that he had probably lived many lifetimes before, all of which prepared him to arrive at this point in his level of spiritual achievement. Govindan claims that at age 11, Nagaraj made a difficult journey on foot and boat with a group of ascetics to Karagama, Sri Lanka. There, Nagaraj met two yogic masters and became their disciples. He did intensive yogic practices with them for a long time, becoming initiated into Kriya Kundalini Pranayam. Upon mastering the techniques of both teachers, Nagaraj made a long pilgrimage to Badrinath, a holy town located in the mountains of northern India. There, Nagaraj spent 18 months practicing the Kriya Yoga he learned in Sri Lanka. At the end of those 18 months, Nagaraj finally attained self-realization, or what some would refer to as enlightenment.
Nice.
As such, he could now transcend time and space, having become master of this physical realm. In subsequent years, he would come to be known as Mahavatar Babaji. Whether you believe these historical claims by Govinda or not, it seems plausible that Babaji had to walk the path of an ascetic, become initiated, and practice for long periods of time to reach self-realization. While nobody is certain what happened to him in the ensuing centuries, the next recorded evidence of Babaji's whereabouts came in 1861. The details were beautifully penned in Autobiography of a Yogi. In that year, Lahiri Mahasaya, working as an accountant for the British government, was walking in the hills of a desolate area when he heard a voice calling his name. Following the voice up the mountain, he met a tall and divinely radiant sadhu. Lahiri was amazed the sadhu knew his name. That sadhu was none other than Mahavatar Babaji. At this point, Babaji would have been over 2,000 years old, but looked a youth of no more than 25 years. How could that be? It's more than likely the spirit of Babaji took on this body, incarnating into the flesh to communicate with Lahiri. Perhaps Babaji felt the time was right to spread the message of Kriya Yoga to the world, and Lahiri would be the person to initiate it. In their short time together, Mahavatar Babaji revealed that he had been Lahiri's guru in a past lifetime. Lahiri didn't remember any of it, but with a tap on the forehead by Babaji, the memory of his past life came flooding back to him. Babaji then initiated Lahiri into Kriya Yoga and instructed him to initiate others. Lahiri's sole desire at that point was only to remain with Mahavatar Babaji. But Babaji told Lahiri he must return to the world and teach Kriya Yoga to others, whereby it would spread across the globe. Lahiri went on to have more meetings with Babaji, which were recounted in several books. The next appearance of Mahavatar Babaji came in 1894 at the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad.
Kumbh Mela.
This time the sighting was by a disciple of Lahiri. His name was Sri Yukteswar, who eventually became the master of Yogananda.
Beautiful.
Others at the Kumbh Mela remarked on how similar the resemblance was between Lahiri's description of Babaji and this young sadhu. In one of their meetings, Mahavatar Babaji instructed Sri Yukteswar to write a book called The Holy Science. This book essentially discusses the one unified message in all religions.
Nice.
Sri Yukteswar went on to have 2 more meetings with Babaji, including one with Lahiri present.
Who is this?
Another disciple of Lahiri, named Keshabananda, recounts a meeting with Mahavatar Babaji in the mountains near Badrinath around 1935. Keshabananda was not only a disciple of Kriya Yoga, but the Sanskrit tutor of Yogananda. Indeed, many great insights about Babaji's life and mission on earth can be learned in chapter 33 of Autobiography of a Yogi.
Not there
Merely
yet.
summarizing the information from that chapter does it a severe injustice. So I highly recommend you read the chapter in its entirety. You won't be disappointed, I promise you that. In this chapter, Yogananda says Babaji is an avatar, which means the descent of divinity into flesh. Yogananda describes Babaji's spiritual level as being so high that it is out of the realm of human comprehension. Babaji, having attained the highest spiritual state, is basically free from the cycle of death and rebirth we all face, also known as reincarnation. As I mentioned in my Ascended Masters video, which you can see here, Babaji only inhabits a physical body for the sake of helping humanity. Yogananda and the Upanishads refer to beings like Babaji as avatars. Some know them as Ascended Masters. According to Yogananda, Babaji's chief mission is to assist prophets in carrying out their special dispensations. For this reason, Babaji has been conferred with the title of Mahavatar, which means great avatar.
Okay.
Yogananda said that through the centuries, Babaji has preferred to work in humble obscurity, away from the glaring eye of the public. For this reason, no public appearances were made for centuries, and perhaps much longer than a millennia. But that does not mean Babaji has not been working behind the scenes. Yogananda said that he has partnered with Christ to try and save mankind from the evil that has befallen it. Babaji is well aware of worldly events and the epidemic of materialism that has taken hold of the world in the last 100 years.
Epidemic.
While some avatars or ascended masters come to Earth to achieve a specific mission and then disappear as soon as it's completed, Babaji is more concerned with the slow evolutionary growth of the planet and has thus been a permanent fixture on Earth. It's true that Babaji could have departed the Earth plane long ago, but he stays for us.
Bodhisattva.
By mastering himself and the physical world through his deep spiritual practice, he is able to maintain a youthful body while doing the amazing, like becoming invisible, teleporting, manifesting anything he needs out of thin air, and speaking any language.
Wow, yeah.
Babaji's powers are vast, but they are never misappropriated and only used for good.
Yeah.
Yogananda said that Mahavatar Babaji traveled in a small band that included 2 high-level American disciples. After being in one locale for a period of time, Babaji will decide it's time to move on. This is usually done by astral travel or teleportation, but not always. Sometimes the group goes on foot from mountain peak to mountain peak. Babaji does not require any food or drink to sustain his body. He only eats if someone brings him food as a gift. This is done as a social courtesy, and not because his body needs it. Another reason for Babaji's presence on Earth is to furnish humanity with a concrete example of its own possibilities.
Nice.
Indeed, he has been the source of spiritual inspiration for hundreds of thousands of people, especially since the world first learned of him in Autobiography of a Yogi. In that book, Yogananda says that Babaji interestingly had a sister who was also self-realized and enlightened. Her name was Mataji, and described as being a young majestic woman with a halo around
She
her
was
body.
mentioned in Sri M's book.
One day,
Oh.
while the 2 were together, Babaji told her that he was thinking of finally giving up his body. Mataji begged him not to, pleading, "Please do not ever relinquish your form."
Wow.
Babaji replied, "Be it so. I shall never leave my physical body. It will always remain visible to a small number of people on this earth."
Wow.
Very small
Ram
number.
Gopal, who had been present during the conversation between Babaji and Mataji, explained to Yogananda that there is a divine plan for the earth. Babaji had been chosen by God to remain on earth for the duration of this particular world cycle, which stretches on for thousands of years. For that reason, Babaji will always be around. He appeared to Sri Yukteswar a total of 3 times, and to Yogananda at least once as well. Yogananda said one day Babaji just showed up at his door and told him he was the great Mahavatar Babaji that his master Sri Yukteswar had told him about. Babaji instructed Yogananda to go to America, where he would preach the gospel of Kriya Yoga and spread the great yogic science to the West. Indeed, Yogananda did just that, traveling to America as an ambassador for Babaji's Kriya Yoga. As Babaji predicted, Yogananda's time in the West was a huge success, and he was able to influence hundreds of thousands of people in the 30-plus years he spent in America. Through Autobiography of a Yogi, many people learned of Babaji in the ensuing years, including the Beatles, Steve Jobs, and countless other famous figures.
Yeah, cool.
While sightings of the great avatar were claimed on multiple occasions after his meeting with Yogananda, none were as concrete as what happened in 1970. In that year, a powerful ascetic around the age of 20 materialized in a cave in Haidakhan, India. He became known as Haidakhan Babaji, but he's thought to be the actual Mahavatar Babaji, just in a different body.
Someone wants
Haidakhan
to watch a
Babaji
video on
lived
him.
for 14 years, until the death of his physical body in 1984. Whether he was actually the immortal spirit of Mahavatar or not is a debate for another video. Let me know in the comments section if you want to see a video on Haidakhan Babaji. Well, this completes our story of one of the most exalted, ascended masters who has ever graced the earth.
Babaji.
Babaji. So, great avatar. So yeah, I first learned about these divine holy beings just from David R. Hawkins' books, and he was saying that, yeah, this world would have imploded and destructed a long time ago, like the negativity of humanity. So it's these divine beings that are still on the planet that actually keep the level of consciousness at a certain level so that we don't degenerate completely. And it seems like, yeah, so very accurate, all of the disciples and even his sister asking him to remain. Yeah, it's for a purpose, and he's not the only one. There's some other really elevated divine beings possibly that nobody knows about that are still gracing this earth with their presence. So yeah, incredible. And so yeah, we first heard about him in Sri M's book. So
Who was not mentioned here.
yeah, and then so of course Sri M had his guru, just Babaji, and then Babaji's guru was
Oh, wait a second.
Mahavatar Babaji.
Oh, whoopsie.
What?
Yeah, I mixed them up.
Oh, did you?
I thought his Babaji was this Babaji, but no.
No.
His Babaji was Babaji, and Mahavatar Babaji is Babaji's teacher. Oh, whoa. Okay.
But it shows the connection because so Sri M, the very same way towards, Babaji was like that's all he wanted. And there was the example of, yeah, when you have your guru and then that relationship and that bond is so close that having to leave the guru is the most painful experience in the world. And Sri M, went through that. Yeah. And also Sri M had an encounter with Mahavatar Babaji at one point. And also I think he witnessed the sister in one scene as well. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Yogananda's book, I'm going to have to dive back into it. The problem with it is time. As you know, I have a YouTube channel and watching videos, and of course I work is very, very, very busy. So holding in mind in the future, I will have more time to read more as well, because we are also, of course, watching long spiritual epics like the Ramayana right now, which, was divinely inspired by Mahavatar Babaji and Ramanand Sagar, and you can see it. So whether you believe some of the things mentioned in this video or not, like Jesus also being a disciple, but also Sri M mentioned in his book at the end where he had this encounter, he finally made it to Mount Kailash, and then, spoiler alert, there was a vision with all of these divine holy beings, together.
I
right?
think Padmasambhava was there too.
Christ was there, and of course Mahavatar Babaji. So all these divine holy beings, and it's sad and tragic in a way that religions somewhat haven't quite figured it out, or they have, but they just don't want to acknowledge it because there's other agendas at play in this Kali Yuga. But for spiritual beings who understand the higher truth, even just intellectually, we can see that they're all united in their purpose and they're all teaching the same truth. And we need to let go of the separation and division amongst them. Yeah, I do believe that Jesus' lost years, he had a connection with Sanatan Dharma. To me, it's just blatantly obvious in his teachings, whether he went to India or not. Even in the Bible, they mention the 3 wise men that came from the East, but then we just assume that that was the end of it. Like
Oh, they come from the East.
Yeah.
Oh, they say
Yeah.
they come from the...
Yeah. Like,
well, just in the country from the East or the East?
well, I think the East, obviously, like same as the Tibetan Buddhists, when there's an incarnated Lama, they go and they seek him out.
Oh my God.
Right? And they have their astral charts and they have a very sophisticated science that lets them seek out these holy beings.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
then we don't think that, okay, so like they wouldn't just leave him alone. Like they're going to be like, they're going to be back and they're going to
Yeah.
check on him and make sure he gets the teachings that he needs. Just like Mahavatar Babaji still needed to go for teachings. Just like Lord Ram needed to go for teachings. Just like Lord Krishna also needed teachings in order to, open the true nature of their reality, right?
Just like us.
So Jesus would have also needed his teachings. So these wise men from the East, they wouldn't have just showed up at his birth and then left him alone for the rest of his lifetime. They still would have been involved, whether they brought the teachings to him or whether Jesus went
They came back
somewhere
and
for the
took
teaching.
him.
Well, of course, that's what I think.
Wow. Where are my 3 wise men taking me, taking me away?
Yeah.
Not highly enough realized in my
Yeah.
past lives. Darn it.
Someday. Yeah. So the most important thing is to be on the path, be spiritual seekers, to read these holy books. Whatever you're drawn to, your path is your path. So Ramanand Sagar, yeah,
Makes total sense.
yeah, because you can see the devotion. So
Yeah.
he would have been divinely inspired, no
Can
doubt.
you imagine that if the show would not have happened, like how the world would look like now? Because I do believe that the show, I mean, we only watched a few episodes, but it's so clear that it had such a massive impact
Yeah.
on people's minds, especially in India, that it totally raised the whole world
Oh, yeah.
and its consciousness.
Yeah, totally. So the Indians are doing the world a great service, whether they realize it or not, just by understanding, the teachings, right? And even so, whatever format it takes place, and that's why these series are so incredibly important, and that's why we get comments saying that some people have watched it like 5 times or more. Yeah, we did a poll saying, have you watched Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana? And then somebody comment, you should have asked how many times.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So let us know how many times you watched it, because we're watching it right now, and it's absolutely incredible. It's on another level. So I'm debating right now which one I am going to love more, the Mahabharata or the Ramayana.
Oh, Roger, you can't compare them.
I know, but it's fun.
Totally not comparable, because I have to say, even though the Mahabharata, now we have a discussion, even though the Mahabharata was really difficult, it had Krishna in it. And Krishna, just melts me away.
Yeah, so we're only a few episodes into the Ramayana yet, so Sabina doesn't have that connection yet, but it's going to happen, so stay tuned.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'd like to shout out our world avatar, Taj.
Oh yes, Taj on another level. Yeah, just having, I didn't know how it was going to go, but in our Patreon page, we have the levels and the tiers, and Taj is a world avatar, the highest level. And I think that plays a part in your level of inspiration and divine guidance, because you're aspiring to this high level, not just in name and form, but spiritually beyond the mind, in your consciousness opening up to the truth that the divine light of ultimate reality is shining through you. And I see it every time I look into your beautiful eyes. Blown away. I do not want to leave you forever.
I bet 3 wise men came to your birth too.
Yep.
right?
Recognized you, and then you disappeared and then went away and got all the divine teachings, and now you just exude the presence of your high level to keep humanity from self-destructing completely.
Yes.
Keep it up.
Great job.
The world needs you.